Hello, everyone. This is Michelle Biggs, CEO of My Best Everyday Coaching and Consulting, and the host of Real Conversations with Michelle. I am so glad to be here tonight. I have a great group of women who are joining me. Tonight's topic is living your dreams, publishing and podcasting. If you aspire to write, and or podcast, then you are in the right place. For those of you who are new to my platform, I am a master certified life coach and a senior HR professional. Have been working in the HR space for 34 years. I leverage this platform to really talk about life topics that all of us have engaged in some shape, form, or fashion or experience, with the goal that something that is shared, you'll be able to leverage for yourself in a positive manner. Like anything else, this is an educational platform. So I ask that you do your homework to make sure that what you are doing is truly right for you. So I will now start with the introductions of my guests. And the first person who will be up is Miss Pamela Wakefield. Hello, Pamela.
Hello. Good evening,
How,
everyone.
yes, Pamela, talk a little bit about what you are doing in this space.
Okay, well, currently, Michelle, I have just published a new magazine called Reclaiming. My first issue was released September issue. Um, it really was, it's been an inspiration to me. The purpose of the magazine is our target audience is towards Black women, 18 and up, and it's to inspire, inform, and empower Black women to be all that they can be. So I'm excited about it, really excited about it. I would love to tell you more about it.
Good, good. We're going to talk about it and talk about the books that you've written as well,
Yes,
Pamela.
yes, I have self-published. I've self-published 4 books. Two books addresses the topic of stress and mental health, reclaiming my life from stress, something that I had dealt with for many years, and I found out the root cause to the many illnesses that I was dealing with was related to stress. And so I did also a workbook called Reclaiming Our Lives from Stress. So anyone that found themselves in a position of really living a stressful lifestyle, how they can find ways to have balance. And 2 other books I've done are Christian-based books, What's in the House, dealing with the body of Christ. And another book is called It's Not Late to Get on the Right Path. It talks about
Yes.
the process of salvation. So, yeah.
Thank you, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. And the reason I'm asking you
You're
guys
welcome.
to talk about your books, because all of you have written different types of things. And
Yes.
what I love about all of you have self-published. So we're going to get a little bit into that as well. Next up, Dr. Adea White Johnson, my college friend. How are you, my dear?
I'm well, thank you. And yourself?
Good, good. Why don't you introduce yourself and what you've been doing in this space that we're talking about today?
So, until recently, I was a retired school counselor, but was called back for the need to meet the needs of the children returning to school and the trauma associated with the pandemic. So, I am working with elementary children. I'm contracted out to work with them. But what I've been doing since I retired in 2012, I have written 16 books. 8 of them are books that focus on motivating, empowering, and inspiring women and teens to move towards positive changes in their lives. And 4 of them are my empowerment devotional calendar journal planners, a whole lot, put into one. And so, what I spend most of my days doing, well, now I work with the children, but after I work with the children, I help writers become published authors. I help them to share their story, bring volume to silenced voices, turning their mess into a message, tragedy to triumph, victim to victorious, all on the pages of a book. So I love doing that. And through my empowerment house is where I offer programs and presentations to women and teens, again, to helping them move towards positive changes in their life. So I've got a full life with my several businesses.
Yeah, yeah. And again, my goal today is to talk about all of your journeys, how you got there, your lessons learned, and tips. And I like the fact we have someone who launched a magazine, got somebody in my circle I can talk about that. And a day with you with these journals, because your journals are different. I haven't seen journals like yours.
Mm-hmm.
So talk a little bit about that, and I'll introduce Tracy next.
So really, I'm a planner girl, and every year I'm old school. I needed to write down things, and I find these nice planners, but they always felt like they were missing something. I wanted to journal here. I wanted to be inspired. I wanted to be motivated. So my planners includes all of that in one, and we focus on Black Girl Magic, celebrating the differences of Black girls and strengthening us. So we have empowering messages every month. We have motivational quotes, inspirational scripture. We have journaling space. So it's all in one, and it's a lot of planner all in one. So what they say is that if you can't find what you want out in the world, go ahead and create it. And that's what I did. So I'm pretty excited. It is unique. There really isn't anything else out there on the market like that. So, it's great, but I don't want anybody else to do it as well. So we're excited. Great things are coming in 2022 with it. But yeah, that's my baby. And we're just moving into the pre-orders for next year. So we're just excited. Yeah.
Good. I'm getting goosebumps because, when I select my speakers, there's always some connection. And tonight, the connection, and I'm bringing this woman up right now, who is my soror. She's going to talk about her podcast, but all of you guys are inspiring others through what you do. So next up is Tracy Mack. Tracy.
Well, hello, everybody. Hello. I am Tracy Mack. I am CEO of Tracy Mack Solutions for Life Institute and Tracy Mack Publishing for music and books. And as a coach at Tracy Mack Coaching Services is where we like to say peace of mind, self-discovery, and marked success merge. As a podcaster of the Black Women's World Podcast, that's the BWWP, baby. It is catered to Black women. We are pro-Black women, but that does not mean we are anti anyone else. We call our listeners Sisternistas, and we use the acrostic SCREAM. And that's a good thing because Black women get to be heard. And the strength, the class, the royalty, the excellence, the authenticity, and the moxie. So I am so glad to be here, as well as a published author. The two, Adair and Pamela, I feel the vibe already among
I know,
us.
I got chills. Yeah, I got chills as you guys were each talking. And, I tell people when I rehearse, I don't ask y'all to give answers to your questions because I want it to be authentic in terms of our engagement. So again, I know each of you. Tracy, I know from my chapter. Adair, I know from college. Pamela, I met just over the summer and just felt this energy from her. And like I said, as you guys were talking, I was like, "Ooh-wee, it's God." That's all I can say. But anyway, love it. Tracy, I know you're going into your third season with your podcast, correct?
Yes.
And I just saw your post yesterday. 1,500. Talk about your statistics.
Yeah, for this season, which is miraculous with very little marketing, especially with the audience, because it was a rough start. But yeah, this season we've had 1,500 downloads, and so far. And I am ecstatic about it. People from all over the world's countries I never thought we'd reach or touch. Not for sure, because we get some of the demographics, but we do have men who listen to our show as well as women. But we are there for the Black woman, the Sisternista, and anybody else who chooses to glean, we call them our Sisternista lovers. So yeah, I'm excited about it, Michelle.
Good. And I'm excited for you. I'm watching and following all of you. So we're going to get into our questions because, like I said, tonight it is about inspiring others to write and start this thing called podcasting if they're interested. So I want them to learn from your journey. So what was your inspiration for becoming an author? And whoever wants to start first.
I can hop in. So for me, I always tell people writing isn't just what I do. It's a part of who I am. So I've been writing my entire life. Now I have journals, I have notepads. That was my way of expressing myself through the written word. I wasn't one to really share my feelings verbally. So writing them out. And then as I continued to write messages, I found that others found value in it. And then the other part with my first book was because I would write different notes about my life, and everyone would always ask me, well, how do you do it? How do you do it? And I would just look and say, I just do it. It's just the life that I live. finally, with so many people asking me, I said, maybe there is a story to tell here. And that's how I created the first book. But in terms of first book to become an author, but as a writer, I've been a writer my entire life. My dad was a journalist. So I just kind of think it's in my soul and my spirit. So it's just not what I do. It's a part of who I am.
Yeah.
And that's how I always answer that question.
Yeah. Tracy, how about you?
I can repeat exactly what Adair said. I've written all my life. I was quiet as a child. I did a lot of writing, a lot of reading, journaling, led to poetry, to music, to curricula, to writing. And I did not start out to be an author. It was January 2013. I was having a conversation with author Trice Hickman, who writes urban fiction along the lines of Kimberly Lawson Roby, that type of book. And we were college roommates and went to the same high school. And she began to look at some of the things I was saying. And she said, do you have this written down? I said, yes, curricula for my clients. And she said, you should write a book. And I just set out to do the curriculum. And I just had enough to compile from a book. And then that led to books 2 and 3. I got bit by the bug. And I'm not saying it's going to be a 4, but you know, it was just another way to communicate with people that you may never meet, and so I it wasn't something I intended to do, but as God would see fit.
Yeah. Pamela, how about you? Talk about your books, and then what made you decide to launch a magazine?
Well, definitely with the books. For me, I love to talk. Most of us do, right? But I found the writing was a way to inform and inspire others, and so that's my passion. My heartbeat is I want my writing to change someone's life. I want to bring about a positive change. So that's where I come from, right? My first book, it came from my story, as I mentioned earlier, about dealing with illnesses that I had no clue that it was related to stress. So when I wrote the book, a lot of women could chime and understand, okay, sometimes we're silent about mental health, and sometimes we're silent about anxiety or being too stressed out, and or being depressed. And so, being Black women, we've got to be strong. We put the cape on and we keep moving. But what about the times when you just can't keep moving? You just, enough is enough. So it was time to remove the cape, and it was time for me just to come out and just express and bring information that how too much stress can really affect you mentally and physically. So that was the beginning. And then, I wrote some other Christian-based books as well. But as far as the magazine, honestly, July of this year, I was driving, and I heard God said, it's time to write your magazine. And it was in my heart, because when I reflected back, I remember being a teenager, and the magazines that really impressed me were Essence and 17. And when looking at those magazines, the pictures and articles, it gave me hope. Not that my life was so horrible, but it took me someplace. And so it was in my heart. And so, and I know I may be going a little bit ahead of myself, but we're never too old to dream again. And God is reminding, it's over. You know what I mean? So whatever those dreams that sometimes are hitting, and I'm going to share this really quick with you. I heard Dr. Adair say something earlier. My heartbeat, I think I was about 12 or 13 years of age, and I grew up in Philadelphia. And I remember watching this Black journalist, and her name was, I'm not sure if she's still living, but at that time, her name was Lisa Thomas Laurie. And beautiful woman, light-skinned woman, long hair. And I remember telling my mom one day, I want to do that. My mother said to me at that time, and I know now that was a protective type of mechanism. She said she discouraged me because I didn't look like her, right? And so, but that was already in my heart. That's something I want. And so I beseech parents, don't kill the dream. Sometimes as parents, we're trying to protect our children. They may not be successful. And basically, I was born in the 60s, okay? So I didn't look like her.
I got you.
Right? My mom, right, trying to protect me from whatever. But here God is showing me that the dream doesn't die. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
stop because I'm telling you, I would go there, but that's
No,
you're never too
no.
old.
And look,
So he
we
just
could, yeah,
brought
you,
back.
yeah, and you definitely never too old.
Yeah,
And there's a
he
lot
just
of
brought it
things that
back to.
prevent us.
I remember.
Yeah, yeah, and there's a lot of
Mhm.
things that prevent us from moving forward. I mean, I think I know shared with a day. I had started writing some things down, and then just life has gotten in the way of me progressing. But as you said, sometimes the urge to do something starts early, and for whatever reason, we get stuck and we don't. But there's something that then catapults us to just go ahead and do it, right? And we'll talk a
Mhm.
little bit about that.
Yeah.
Um, what was key for you in making this? And I don't even know if I should call it a dream, but making this thing about you publishing and podcasting a reality for each of you.
I know for me, it just felt right. It felt good. I know when I published my first book, I still was in my 27th year of counseling. The book came out in July. The responses that I felt by September, and I had a death of a close relative, that kind, death kind of changes your perspective about life.
Mm,
And I was miserable at work, crying every day. And after Therese passed, I just said, I'm done. This is what I want to do. I found my place. I felt affirmed because I knew you can make a living out of it because my dad, he was the press secretary to the prime minister in the Bahamas. So I knew he was a journalist. I knew I had a gift. So I just said, I'm going to leave 3 years of my retirement on the table and I'm out. Literally,
right.
it was September. I put in my papers and I was out of there Thanksgiving. I never went back after Thanksgiving. So it was kind of like the things fell into place. But I have to tell you, and Michelle, you know this already about me.
Yeah.
I've been real hard on my triple shields of grace, faith, and mercy. And I follow the path that God has created for me. He orders my steps and I don't question what he puts in front of me. And
Mm,
I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I'm still walking along that path. So when you talk about stepping out on faith, now I did have another job as a full-time professor. I wasn't crazy, y'all. but everything came into place. So it was the natural, it was organic for me because I didn't know how my story, my first book was about my story. I didn't know how it would impact everyone else. They looked at the end product of me. They had no idea of the process behind it. So I knew that my going the next step was organic and natural for me. So it was a no-brainer for me.
yeah.
Yeah.
How about you,
Yeah.
Tracy?
For me, I've got this uncanny knack to believe that the answer to world peace is inner peace. And the answer to inner peace is self-discovery. When you know who you are here to be and what you are here to do and do it with passion, that's what I call purpose, mission, and passion. And so how I came into self-discovery, like I said, I did it for curricula for self-discovery for my clients. And I said, you know what? If I believe I'm here to be peace, not just give peace, show peace, then how can I do that in a way? And so the book became that way. It became a way for someone to discover their own purpose. It's a workbook and their own passion. And the reason why I had to define them differently is because I heard people using those words interchangeably and it just didn't set with me. So I had to look at them differently. So I said, purpose is who I'm here to be. My mission is what I'm here to do, because I can't get them interchanged. Because if you get your purpose and your mission mixed up, people gonna come and go. If my purpose is to be a school teacher, then what happens if the school shuts down? Or if I retire, then I ain't got purpose no more. So that's one of my missions. And then passion. And I know we say, I do my passion, but I had to go back and look at that thing, I use my clergy skills and look at that word. And paseo means to suffer, like the passion of the Christ. And so the passion is what we're willing to suffer temporarily for the greater good. So like going back to school is a type of suffering. I know it was for me, and I ain't never going back again unless somebody gives me a degree. Do you hear me?
No, I know that's right.
But yeah, so it took me the peace that I felt that surpassed all understanding, for real. It ain't just something I read. And I said, if I can just help other people get this type of peace, just maybe I can lean them towards and lean the world towards world peace, just one at a time. So that got me. And I'm gonna be quiet on that. But yeah, I was just so excited about it. Yeah.
Y'all just don't know what this is doing for me right now. Okay. So your lessons learned as you think about your process of what you went through to publish, what are some of your lessons learned?
Um, the biggest one for
For
me
me,
is just learning the business.
Hmm.
Learning, because I was an educator. I still am an educator. The corporate world, the business world is rough out there,
Mm,
and just learning how to do everything. It's not enough to know how to write and publish a book. The whole marketing, the whole strategies, and because my books evolved into my publishing company and taking on more clients, how to do the business aspect of it. I can't People aren't like me. There's an old quote that says, stop expecting you from other people. And
yes.
that's got to be the greatest lesson,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I would trust people and they don't think the way I think. They don't do as I do. They don't know as I know. And I'm the one left with the short end of the stick. So the greatest lesson for me was learning how to run my business. And I'm still learning more and more every day, but learning how to run a bona fide business with my paperwork in order.
Yeah,
Mhm, mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
that's the publishing side because all of you have self-published,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Um, Pros and cons of that, y'all. And the fact that you did it, I have to say it's probably more pros in terms of why you did it versus cons. But talk a
Well,
little bit about that.
Well, for
Good.
me, I started out publishing music, and I went into. I didn't think I could publish my own book. It took me getting a coach, and I believe
Mhm.
as a coach, if you do it, if you can coach people, then you need to always have a coach. And so,
Yes.
even in the world of authorship, it took me having a coach. And the main thing about the publishing world for me was I came in on the cusp when ebooks began to shift.
Mm.
So, when I was being coached, it was when you had to order 1,000 books and have them sitting in your garage, waiting for somebody to buy them. The whole printing aspect was different. So I came in right when ebooks began to be the thing. And I made the mistake, and then this is probably crazy, of thinking at the time I could handle all my businesses and publish other people's books.
Mm.
So I admire Dr. Adair. I said doctor because that's who she is, for being able
Right.
to do that, because my I publish my own stuff. But what I do for other authors is through self-discovery, help them find their voice. So I
Okay.
don't ghostwrite, but in the world of publishing, helping them find their voice so they can write and then come to somebody like Adair to actually publish that thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. How about you, Pamela? Your lessons
so you
learned.
talk
Are
about the
you?
pros and the cons. So just
Hmm.
or lessons learned.
Yes.
Um, Ask for help when you need it.
Hmm.
Um, have balance. Don't be too hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Um, you got to push through it anyway. If that's what you're believing, your desire, and that's your heart, you got to push through it and um, celebrate the successes. Like a lot of times, I think, and I'm speaking for myself, we go through one um, success, but sometimes we don't take the time to really celebrate it, and then we go to the next thing. So it's like take the time to celebrate that milestone. Take that time to celebrate that accomplishment. Um,
Hmm.
you if this is something you really want to do,
Yeah.
I would say take the time to pursue it. Get you a mentor, get you a coach. Be okay with asking people for help. Um, I'm being honest, and it's not to discourage. When you're writing a book and then self-publishing a book, it's hard work, but
Yeah.
you can do it. You can do the task. I think
Yeah.
the reason I got into self-publishing is because my very first book that I have wrote, I went and got on one of these publishing companies, took some retirement money out. I was working as a
Mm.
social worker and had some retirement money saved up, and I took that money out. And when I got that book, I was so disappointed. It did not represent um, the way it didn't represent me at all. The print was too
Right.
small. I didn't like the cover. So I was determined. I researched everything from the beginning to the end of how to self-publish on my own. but I did it. And then out of that, I was able to help other people to share their story, to bring it to light. And so even though it was work for me, I got through it. And then I was able to coach other people to live their dream and also to see their book in print. And one thing I've learned about a book, whether it's an ebook or whether it's a printed book, it's something that never can be erased. Even it's a legacy that you will,
That's right.
and nobody can take it away. And that's what I love. That's what I love about publishing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's
So-
great work.
Michelle, I wanted to touch on what you said, the pros and the cons, and
Yeah.
and that's really, really important for aspiring authors to know. And when I work with clients, individual or we have group coaching classes, I always tell them it's 100% doable. And you have to know your why. You have to know your purpose, and that can help you to decide if you want to go the traditional route or self-publishing. Number one, it ain't easy to go the traditional route. It's almost like you have to be selected. Most instances, most larger publishing houses do not accept unsolicited manuscripts. So that means you have to go through a literary agent. And that means you have to be accepted by a literary agent. That means you have to negotiate a lot of terms. Most of my clients who come to me just want to share their story. They want to position themselves as an expert. They want to write a children's book. They don't know all the hems and the ha's behind the scenes about a contract. So they don't know if they're getting a good deal or not. So they have to get a literary agent who guides them through that. And again, your literary agents will shop your book around. When you self-publish, you're 100% in control. Now, is it easy? No, but there are things you can do that can make it easier. And I always tell people, it's kind of like if you want to lose weight, yeah, you can do it all by yourself. But sometimes if you work with a trainer or a coach, you do a much better job. So my clients who come to work with me, I tell them it's 100% doable. Everything I'm showing you, you can do yourself. But I guarantee you, with my contacts and my experience and expertise, I'm going to help you get it done a little bit better. So really the biggest difference that I say to my clients who ask this question is you have 100% control if you do it yourself. If you go through a traditional publisher and say if your manuscript is accepted, you're on their terms. I had a traditional publishing deal on the table. They told me they weren't going to publish my book for 18 to 24 months. I was like, what? Like, I'm excited now. 2 years from now, that didn't work for me. So fortunately, I knew someone who had self-published who guided me through the process, and I was able to do it that. So when you sign up with a larger publishing company, they're in control, and you may not even own the rights to your book. You may not even own the rights to your book, depending on how the deal is. So there's so much fine print with that. But again, that's the dream of some people. It could be 100% doable, but there's a process that's involved with it. So I just wanted to
that's good
so
stuff.
I got those tidbits out on that, on the pros and cons.
Any additional feedback that you're hearing?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Pam. Go ahead, Pamela.
I want to say this too. I don't want people to shy away and think it's very costly. It's not costly as people may think it. It can be you can publish through Amazon or, you can do all this stuff. It's not as costly as it used to be. I think Tracy Mack has said it. I also, when I first self-published a book, I brought 100, 200 books, and some of those books stayed in the closet. You know what I'm saying? So, but now you don't have to. You can print on demand. You can publish one book at a time or 5 or 10 based on your clients. And it doesn't have to be expensive. So there are different platforms that prospective authors can use to get their book published. What Dr. Aden was saying, there's things we want them to understand, like her or if any of us help people self-publish book. There are things that you want to put out the best product. You don't want a whole lot of grammar. You want it to look great. You want the cover to be attractive. So getting connected to people who've already published books, because you want someone to be and talk about your book. You want, like one of the sisters was saying, what's your purpose, what's your mission? And so that keeps your customers coming back to read more. So you put out a good product. And a lot of times we know with that, and I say outsource. Even with self-publishing, I don't design book covers, you know what I'm saying? But I'll outsource for someone who can. You want to outsource for somebody who can do the editing for you. So whatever you're good at, do good at. But what if you need help, get somebody else to do it.
Hire your weakness
that you don't have the creativity.
A day I heard you say hire your weakness. A day
hire your weakness.
That's
what you do.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Writer's block. Talk about that, because I know quite a few people get into this space where they want to do it, they want to do it, they want to do it, they stop, they go back. What's your wisdom and feedback to people in terms of writer's block? Because that seems to stop a lot of people as well. Adair, I'll start with you.
I'm going to hold my thought because I usually think differently than others. So let the ladies go first, and then I'll chime in at the end, because usually my thought process is a little different.
Okay. Thoughts, ladies.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead. I know I'm different. So
go ahead, Tracy. Go ahead, Sora.
I've never experienced it, because something that Adair and Pamela were saying, when you go to a publishing house to get publishes, they control. I have my very good friend, like I said, who coached me through this. Every time she finishes one book, once one is released, she has to have the other one sitting there on the table. And I said, how do you keep up with their schedule? Because to me, when you write from heart, at least what I do, I don't get blocked because I write when I feel it. You know what I'm saying?
That's good.
And I've probably got, because I write like Adair and Pamela, I write all the time. So if I just take my writings and journals and files, I've probably got 200-300 books if you compile them. So I don't have, because I think when you're in that vein and you're in that zone, if you choose to make the decision to write and be consistent, I think you get full. Yeah, you may have to get, and I agree with hire your weaknesses. I hired cover design, copy editing, developmental editors, everything, just to get it done. But I don't know if it's, I guess it would be how you define writer's block.
Okay.
Is it that you can't, like I tell people when I'm finding their voice, is it that you can't think of what else to write, or have you gotten off track?
Good stuff.
Because if you're in your vein and you're in the zone and you know your why, and you at least are some type of expert on yourself, and it also depends on genre, if you're writing, fiction or nonfiction, that type of thing. But if you're writing and that's your thing, you probably have too much when you're in the right zone. And you know what I'm saying? And that might not jive with everybody, but that's just the truth from my experience. Adair, you smiling? Is that a laugh at or with?
It's actually a combination of the two. Because what I do, because I know most of the aspiring authors who come to me are not organic writers. So in my space, writer's block does not exist at all. What I teach them in their language is that you don't have talker's block. As long as you can talk, you can write.
That's it.
And so what we do is I share different tips for them to get through this writer's block they may experience, whether it's talking through your book. Before we start writing a book, we do a whole pre-writing where you have to mind map. You have to brain dump, get those ideas that you have to do something of an outline so that when you sit down, we even look at the physical environment. Are you too hot? Are you too cold? Are you having a hot flash or not? All of that is going to impact your ability to write. I have my authors look at their schedules on their planners and put their writing time on their planners, because Michelle started at the top of the hour saying life kind of got involved. Well, just like you show up to work and you show up to church, you show up to write. So I don't want to hear that you don't have time, because we make time for the things that we want to make time for.
Yes, ma'am.
And emergencies happen, but this whole idea of writer's block, it's really non-existent, because you don't have talker's block. So if you're out and about, you can talk your book.
Yes,
you can speak your book. And you can record. I have authors who cannot write. They literally can't string two words together in a sentence, but I don't let them stop that from sharing their stories. They can talk their stories, and we take it, we get it transcribed. So there's so many reasons why you shouldn't be stuck at all. So many reasons. But I'm not trying to hear anything about writer's block. I post videos and reels and all of that on Instagram, and so many people come at me. Well, no, I'm not trying to hear it. It's not happening.
I agree, because that the talking is my second book, Relationships Nothing But the Truth.
Mhm.
I chose to take clients, business owners, and Black folks, because people
Business
would hear
owners and
people's
Black
testimonies of, okay, this is what I used to be, and all of a sudden I'm here, and they left out the juice. Well, how did
Yeah.
you get here? What happened
Mhm.
after the divorce? And then you got what I wanted, the meat and the juice. And so
Mhm.
people, they wouldn't write it. So you know what I did? I got on the phone
Yep.
and recorded the conversations with their permission and their signatures, and full disclosure agreements and everything.
Right.
And I put it in book form. So the book reads just like a conversation, because they were like, I can't write, because I was going to make it an anthology, and them jokers were
Right.
being slow. Y'all ain't meeting deadlines. Y'all ain't doing nothing. I say, so how we going to
Yeah.
fix this? You want to talk about it, but you don't write. So I agree with Adair. I got them on the phone and said, let's talk.
Yep.
Yeah.
Q&A, and that's how the book is written. And then they were like, oh yeah, that it's just that simple. But the whole thing is making a decision and knowing your why.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
Good
It is.
stuff. Adair, you
Yeah.
started talking. Well, you dipped your toe in some tips. So let's go in. Let's go into the tips piece. What's your
Okay.
tips? Anybody else who wants to share tips for
So I give you my first strong tips is you have to know your why. You have to know your why. Like, why are you writing the book? What is the purpose of your book? Complete the sentence. The purpose of this book will be to. And the reason why you do this is I've discovered that 99% of the people don't finish their books because of fear, confusion, doubt, and time. And so if you can have these things in place, you can reduce those other things from stopping you from writing your book. So if you know your purpose, know why you're writing this book, because sometimes people get confused, they change it as they go around. Make sure your purpose is clear. Know who your target audience is. You need to know their language. You need to know what it is, are their pain points. So when you write, you can write to their pain points. So you don't get stuck in confusion about, I don't know, whether it's going to be a 45-year-old Black woman or a 19-year-old white woman. Those are two different audiences.
Yeah.
So you want to be clear about your audience. And you also want to get all these ideas out, do a brain dump before you even start writing, so that when you write, you don't have to think, get all this stuff out of your head, create an outline. That's not to say that you're married to it. You can make adjustments so that when you sit down to write, say you only have 20 minutes, you can look at, you have 10 stories. You can look at which story, oh, maybe I can knock this out in the 20 minutes. And you're not afraid if I get started, I'm not gonna finish. So you don't have to spend 10 minutes of your 20 minutes thinking about what should I write about.
Yeah.
So know your why, know your who, and have an outline. And the outline comes after your brain dump. There's so much more, but I'm just giving you a couple. I don't want to monopolize.
I know. Well, good. And you speaking to me. Y'all speaking to me. Okay. All right. Anybody else want to add to that?
Well,
Dr. Deb. Go ahead, Pamela.
I do. Well, everything that ladies are saying are so true. So, and also you want to create an environment. Like for me, I don't do well in clutter. Like your environment has to be environmentally for you to write, conducive to writing, right? You have to know your rhythm. Like I'm a morning person. So if I'm getting up 5, 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm pouring out then. But around 9, 10, 11 o'clock, you don't get too much out of me. So you got to know your Bible, which one flows with you, right? You got to set time. You have to make time. If it's only 20, 30 minutes, just be consistent. One of the ladies said, knowing your why and being consistent. Consistency, that's even when, weight loss, anything, you got to be consistent. So definitely having an environment that's conducive to writing. You don't want a whole lot of distractions. And the people who are close to you, maybe you need someone that's accountable to you as well. And also those that are close to you, let them know, one thing I found that if you're working at home, a lot of times people think it's okay, they can call you at any time, at any moment, and you're free. That may be your time that you're writing, that you're taking that hour or two or whatever and writing, and let them respect that. I'm writing right now, because when that flow comes, it's a flow. And you don't want to lose your train of thought. And you might want to record it, with your record some of your thoughts. A lot of times, I'm in the car driving, and I'm inspired to write. And I agree with the ladies. I have never experienced write block because I'm inspired to write. God gives me something. It's a my heart. It just flows out. A lot of times I can be somewhere, and I'll put in my little note on my phone, and it just maybe a title and just going. You can use your phone, whatever's handy. You need to write something down because you don't want to lose your train of thought. I heard a lot of people say, having something right around in your bed, just something to write it down, because you'll find in that quiet time, that quiet space, when everything is just starting to flow. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's just like most things in life, right? I mean, I got a notepad for everything. I got them everywhere. And it's just so because the thoughts come in different places. So doing that,
Yeah.
Tracy, were you going to add something to
Yeah,
that?
I was going to add, when she said flow, don't edit yourself while you're writing.
Yeah, don't edit.
That's
Writing
a good one. That's a
Don't
good
edit.
one.
Just let it flow. Because and then how you write. I know, so I'm still a pen person when it comes to certain things, but some people, and then I move to the laptop. Maybe I'll do the outline by hand, and then I'll move to the laptop and type. Maybe I'll talk a little bit. So know how you want to actually get those words down. You want to write it, you want to type it, you want to talk it, but whatever is most comfortable. And sometimes I still carry, well, I use my phone now, but I used to carry a little handheld cassette. Am I aging myself?
Yeah.
Whatever, dear. But yeah, but I just use my phone now. A thought will come and I'll say it. And transcribing is easy when you're talking about that. If you're going to talk it, I have clients who use Fiverr to have their stuff transcribed.
Absolutely.
So,
I use them too.
It's really a no-brainer when you make the decision. And the last thing I want to add is see it before you see it. Whatever the end result is, like Adair said, I'm writing this because, and if you see, because you have to have the follow through, there's no need to put the time, the energy, the effort, and the money behind putting a book together, and then it's just going to sit somewhere. What is the end game? Are you looking at being an author? You just want to be a subject matter expert, but for a business, or like I deal with coaches, what is the end game? Are you looking to sell it? Are you looking to give it away? And a lot of that will help with the energy of the start for the duration.
Yeah, it's really important. The bottom line, like you said, don't write and editing and writing are two different processes. So you don't want to get stuck with that. But the bottom line is that you need to have clarity. 80% of the people who start writing a book don't finish. 80%. Only 20% make it over the threshold. And the way to make it over the threshold is to decrease the fear, the confusion, the doubt, and that will impact the time you're going to invest in it. And the way to do that is to provide clarity. A lot of people just sit down and start writing a book. If you're not gifted with the ability to do that, you need a process ahead of that before you sit down to write, so you don't get stuck. A confused mind does nothing. So that's when you spin around in circles and you feel like you're wasting time, then you give up and you don't get it done. So having a process is a key element in order to get this done. Having an environment, whether I have some clients who like to write in Starbucks. Starbucks drive me crazy because I'm too nosy. I want to see what's going on. But I have clients who really like that busyness and all of that. Like the library to study never worked for me because I was too busy being nosy. So find your space and put it on your planner, on your phone, so you know where to show up. You got to train your brain what to do when it's time to do it. So you know what to do at church, at work, when you out hanging with your girlfriends. Now you need to know when it's time to write. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Right.
Well, look, y'all speaking to me. I'm hearing my coaches, my author coaches speaking to me. So I need to just do it, Michelle. Just get to doing it. Podcasting. I'm gonna switch over now a little bit about podcasting, because Tracy and I kind of stepped into this space around the same time. And Lord knows I know I have some lessons learned from it. But what drove you to start a podcast, Tracy?
Pandemic. Pandemic. But it was I had seen Beyonce's take on the King, her take on the Lion King. And a few days later, I saw Cardi B's WAP video. And we were on lockdown. I was shifting in business, and I just began to think about us Black women. And I said, the world has seen, and I think last time I looked, in days, there were 3 million views of one, and then 11 million views of another. And regardless of how we feel about either one of them, I said, you know what? There's so many Black women in between that the world does not know. I knew hundreds of them myself. And I said, you know what? Black women's world is so much different. The things we have to contend with, whether it be at work, in our professions, in our homes, in church, whether the biases, the racism. And I said, you know, if I can just illuminate the world of Black women and celebrate who we really are. And it just became something that the way we approach life is different. How we handle our lives, our mind, our hair, everything from head to toe. And so I began to think about how beautiful we are, and not just the outer, but the inner. And like I said, the acrostic we use is SCREAM, our strength, class, royalty, excellence, authenticity. And I don't think we celebrate one another enough. And
Yeah.
so I knew that a lot of my clients were Black women, and the things that are on our mind, and they needed to hear something, and then see ourselves. And so that was the initial bite as to how I got started. I had done music and some radio before, and so
Yes, your voice, y'all. Y'all gotta hear her. Y'all gotta hear her voice. I'm like, I need to hire her to do some voiceovers or something.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
and how about that? We started doing commercials for the podcast, and now we do voiceover work. I hadn't done
Yeah.
voiceover work in years, so doing other commercials for other podcasts, but mainly to celebrate and be pro Black women without having to be anti anyone else. So that's how we got started, and I love it. I love it.
It's funny because when you said you started during the pandemic, mine was the same thing, right? I was in this coaching space, really pushing to start the personal side of coaching.
Yeah.
And meeting with people wasn't happening
Mhm.
live anymore, right? So for me, it was how, and then for me, I launched right after the George Floyd murder.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And for me, it was um how can I contribute in the space
Yes.
of helping people to um manage through life situations in a way that I can be impactful, and
Yeah.
and really using that as a platform. And where I started and where I am now, I mean, it's basically it's taken on legs of its own.
Yeah.
But again, same thing as writing. What's your purpose?
Yeah.
Right.
And the other thing, because we were at home so
Yes.
much, it was, how do we get above the news and the noise? Because we were being inundated. George Floyd, the other dude was in
Arbery.
office back
Yeah.
then. So much going on. And I was like, I find peace through music. And I was listening to podcasts, but I wasn't finding solace. And so I was like, you know what? Whenever I go and complain about something, it's for me to do it.
Yeah.
So that was it. How can we live above the news and the noise and get to the place where we come in contact with ourselves and like I said, realize who we are. Melissa Fulcher says in the feed down here that we're just all around should embrace Black women all the time. And that's what I want to do, because what I'm also finding, ladies, is it's not as easy for Black women to embrace one another.
Yes. Ooh.
And so those are some areas that we're speaking to, behind all of that. So, but just a Black woman's world, and we cater to our demographic is women between 35 and 55, and but yeah. So
Yeah.
Michelle, I want to ask you, when you started the podcast, what was your initial feedback that you got from people?
You know what? I was amazed. I mean, literally amazed. I went in scared. I can't lie, because um for me, I wanted to figure out what I was going to do. And all I knew at that point in time was, I'm talking about this racial situation that's going on. Because as an HR professional, I was dealing with it both inside the workplace as well as outside the workplace. Right.
Yeah.
So for me, it was I was amazed. I was I gotta tell you, I was overwhelmed with the response. Right. And I had been speaking to one of Adea's sorors who we were just talking about some stuff. I've seen her do some live stream stuff. And I said, yeah, I'm looking to do this. Give me some tips. What? And she said, Michelle, just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. And but that was what got me to do it. And what I'm finding is, I don't know about you, I get a lot of views after it's been
Oh yeah.
done.
Mm,
Right. But I
mhm.
just like the authenticity of the live. Right. So
Yeah.
whether you watch it
Yeah.
in replay or whatever, I don't care. If it's helping one person, then I feel like I fulfilled my purpose.
Yeah.
Right. But that's what it was. But it was really it was overwhelming. I can't lie. The response, it was
Yeah.
really good. And even now I get people who say, I love what you're doing. The other thing that I'm trying to do through this platform is really how do I give exposure to other people? Right?
Mhm.
To your point, Tracy, is how do we support one another? And what you'll start to see is that happening, giving people exposure, relevant topics, but giving
Yeah.
people exposure
Yeah.
that they
Yeah.
may not have. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So hopefully I answered your question. Look, I wasn't expecting to be interviewed so well,
Yeah.
but you go ahead. You go ahead. Mhm. All right. That's Tracy Mack for you, coach. Go ahead. What has been your big, what I think what people don't realize though, and Pamela, you've been doing interviews, and to me, it's the same kind of thing. You're going live, the preparation that goes into this. um, I don't know. Some people just go off and they just do it, turn on a live, and they're like, "I'm doing a live stream."
Mhm.
And maybe it's the perfectionist in me, semi-perfectionist in me, but it's a lot of work for me. It is. But talk about your preparation. And Pam, love to hear your experience again, even with the things that you've done as well.
Well, with me, it depends. The first season, it was just me by myself, and back then I was on the using Anchor,
Hmm.
and Spotify allowed you to play music. So with me feeling like having a sense of peace and bringing everybody with this kumbaya thing, I did several podcasts called Auditory Medicine Series, and I did volumes with different type of music and not talk in between. Well, I moved from that platform because it was elementary platform to what should I say, hosting site, and I got my first co-host, resident co-host. I added Dina Hamilton, and so
Yes.
that was season 2, and we were just podcast only. And that's the only reason why I numbered them into seasons, because season 3 we went video cast.
Right.
So with my two co-hosts, we do collaborate sometime for hours or so prior to getting on, just to flesh out what we want to talk about. But we don't script it, because I want
Yeah.
the conversation to be extremely organic. I have the blessing of both of them being very transparent. And then of course sometimes I go on alone, sometimes it's both of them, sometimes I go on with just a different guest. But it's sometimes it is the prep. But I think, Michelle, and this is one of those other things where I may be very different, I've been preparing for this all my life.
Yeah.
Even the microphone I started out with back when I used to do a lot of music, that was a studio mic I bought back in 1996, and it's
Hmm.
still, so it was,
It's coming back.
and as far as content and subject matter between coaching, and we may be going into this season telling stories, of course, all anonymous, but just some of the experiences that people have gone through that they may not want to show their faces. But I had the content was there, the willingness to be there. I believe I'm on mission. And the moment any of the mission and purpose stops, I won't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But it was just it depends. The prep, it sometimes it's hard. Sometimes we have talked and didn't record.
Mm.
Yeah, so it's very organic, to the best of my ability.
Yeah. Same here. And I find, with me, I have some ideas of the topics I want to cover, but I mean, I have switched off at a moment's notice and just said, no, not doing this right now. This is a topic that's more important to deal
Yeah.
with. So um biggest lesson learned, Tracy, in terms of podcasting?
Um, so many. Let's see which one. Hurry up. Let me see. The biggest lesson for me is ask for help.
Hmm.
Again, because I can do it by myself. I think asking my two co-hosts and other people to join me has been one of the big, because you get into a vein when you've been doing something for a long time, you think you just got it. As even for the podcast, I hired a coach because I just believe in the whole world of coaching. So asking for help, but my biggest lesson was being open to the voiceover work. And you don't get into podcasting for the money.
No,
you don't.
And it's so funny, Tracy, because when I stepped into the space, that was the last thing I thought about. I mean, for me, it's a platform, it's an extension of my coaching and what I do. I think initially when I started, there was a sense that a lot of my topics were going to be coaching related. And yeah, you can find tidbits to coach about in any topic, right? But I really allowed myself to just be free and really talk about things that were relevant to people, right? Today. That's the other thing. I want to talk about topics that are relevant today. I think my biggest lesson learned also is just be yourself. If you're trying to emulate there's so many podcasters out there. You can have a production company pulling it all together, or you can just literally just flip on a button and do it yourself. It really is about your content. Because no matter what you have, if your content is not good, people are not going to listen. Period. Right. So that's been my biggest lesson is just be yourself. Don't try to emulate what other people are doing. Be authentic. That's the other piece. People want to know that you're authentic. Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Ladies, anything else that I missed that you feel like is important to talk about here? And then I'm gonna pull y'all into your coaching space for one last question, but anything that I missed that you think
not necessarily missed, I wanted to talk about is be uniquely you. Just be you. Do not afraid. And if someone else is doing a podcast, is self-publishing a book, or starting a magazine, it's nothing like yours. It is what is yours, right? You may not reach the people, everybody, but you're going to reach the people who you were created to reach. Yeah. And so I think we have to be okay with that. Don't be so much concerned with the likes. A lot of time we post stuff and we only get these amount of likes, and it's like it doesn't matter. Just be you.
Tracy, I see a post Tracy posted about that. Tracy, we won't go into that, but yes, you cannot be in it for the likes, because girl, people be watching your stuff and they won't comment, but they're watching.
They still see it. They may not like it. They may not like it, but they see it. My thing, Tracy said something, I just want to piggyback on something that she said earlier. Reclaiming Magazine, everything that Tracy said, I was over here and I was trying to hold it like, no, I'm about to get up and run here. That magazine, there are magazines, and we know there are magazines that celebrate people with, big names, celebrities and stars like that. I wanted to come with a magazine for Black women that are doing great things in their community, right? I call them trailblazers, right? Making great strides and making a difference in their lives and their families and communities. Listen, and I get to do that through Reclaiming Magazine. Black women are the most creative individuals on this earth. Not only are we beautiful, we're just, it's so much I can say. And I'm saying, I know magazines out there, if you got the big name, your celebrities, people going to go for, but there's so many amongst us that are doing great things in our community. Listen, I think Black women, when we are healed and when we're whole, we can the lives of so many people. We change our lives, we change our families, we change communities, we change generations to come, we change nations, because we are whole. And out of that wholeness, we'll be able to illuminate the light that God shines us to make a difference in somebody else. People who have dealt with, being sexually abused or abandoned or rejected have gotten to this place of wholeness that now I can say, okay, I need to write your story in the magazine. I want you to help someone else, help them with the spirit of forgiving their abusers. And so I get to do that. And in the magazine, it's not just inspirational articles, but we do feature trailblazers. We talk about spirituality. We talk about healthy living. I have a man on board who's talking about relationships, what men are looking for. And I just want women to be whole, because when we're whole, we are some powerful women. Let me tell you, women can I always say this, because of the greatness in us, right? We can impact someone in a positive way, we can impact someone in a negative way. But if we turn around for the good, we can bring some things come to pass. So reclaiming is reclaiming everything that belongs to us, right? I need to stop there, because if I don't, I'm getting ready to go somewhere. So I get excited because God gives me the ability to pour it out, and it's just not just me. That's why you need a team. You can't do this thing. I pull on other people's expertise, people who have the gift of finance, or people who have the gift of entrepreneurship, or a man is saying, okay, I can tell you what we're talking about, what women, so I can bring it all together, healthy, talking about us making a difference in our lives, reclaiming our health. And it's so much, and not being ashamed to talk about mental health. There's so much work we can do together, and we need to celebrate us as women. All that stuff. That's life is so much bigger, and I love it that we can. I've always, and I'm gonna be quiet. I don't care where I am. I've always been this type of person. If I see a sister wearing a bad pair of shoes, nice outfit, hair going, I'm like, girl, you wearing that. I don't have a jealousy competition. That's not me. I'm celebrating you, right? I'm celebrating your success. I'm celebrating what you look like, and we have to come together in sisterhood and be there for each other, and lift each other up and celebrate our success. It's not to tear anybody down. So that's what I get to do in Reclaim. That's what I'm excited about it. Listen, let me about this one more thing. I had to push Reclaiming magazine when God gave it to me in July. I birthed that thing out, and when I said about the Father, I don't know about the Father, because I know He inspired me to do it, but He used me as a vessel to do it. I did that taking care of mother who was dying, basically. I did that working a 9 to 5. So when something's and God inspires you to do it, and I had to get up many times, 2 or 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, jump in the shower, get to work, to go on the road by 7 o'clock to be at a job. When you're inspired to do something, that thing can't die in you. It shall not die. And so you just have to know what you're called to do. Go forward with everything that you got. Even if you got to go it alone, even if you got to do it going slow, even if you don't think you have the finances, by faith you can do it. I'm telling you, I'm a witness. It's possible. You just got to believe.
Yeah. It's definitely what I have found is, since I have been in this space, I have never been short of ideas or anything. As you said, it just flows. And Tracy, to your point, when it stops, then I know I've come to an end. But when you are truly living in your purpose, things will come and it will happen naturally. You don't have to work hard for it at all. And I think all of you are living proof of that. And, again, commonality, we are all helping people in different ways through what we are doing. And I thank God for bringing you guys in my circle. Pamela, like I said, you and I just met over the summer. Tracy and I met a couple of years ago. And Adea, she and I have known each other, God damn, we won't say how many years, but it's been.
Don't be telling on me, tell on you.
Years, whatever, y'all. But listen, you guys, Pam, I think you summed up. My last question was, what will you tell someone about, living their dreams, right? Because a lot of times people do get stuck, and you kind of stepped into that space already with your answer. But y'all, your coaches, your advice to people about following their dreams, what do you say?
So I always tell people, and I'm quoted throughout 50 million different places, telling them that dreams don't come with a warranty or a guarantee. And some of them even have expiration dates. So you have to work a dream to live a dream. You've got to grind. You have to grit. You have to have a plan. I have learned that a dream without a plan is just a wish. So
Yes.
you got to do the work. Yes, people may see the end product. They may see all my books. They may see me on podcasts such as this, but there's work behind the scenes. And as I add to my plate, I pick and choose what I want to do. There's work that's involved in it. So what happens to a dream deferred? Nothing. Don't let
Right.
it happen, because some of them, like I said, they don't come with a warranty or a guarantee. Some of them have expiration dates. So you got to work a dream to live a dream, and I stand by that. And I'm not budging from it. I mean, that's non-negotiable for me. You have to
Yeah.
work a dream to live a dream.
Yeah. Tracy,
Yeah.
anything you want to add to that?
That was good there. Dreams can't live without plans. They can't live without plans. And when we think about dreams, sometimes people will look at you, and some of us have the ability to make what we do look easy. So if you want my dream, also take the nightmares, because you're going to have those too, because it's not going to always be easy. And a lot of times people will say, chase your dreams. I ain't never chased a dream. What I've had the dream and lived my life to a point where the dream chases me. I want the
Yeah.
dream to walk me down. And it's not always perfect. It's not always easy. But I think a lot of times, just like in any other thing, especially with marriage or whatever, people go into this stuff with a fairy tale mentality. And it's not that at all, And so I think, especially if your demographic is anywhere near mine, we already know this as Black women specifically. And so why do we try to take that into our next? Why do we try to take that into authorship, into podcasting, into whatever it is? Just and get the help. I love when Pamela said earlier,
Yeah.
mental health. I think a lot of times we don't realize how traumatized we have been. And a lot of times we self-sabotage based on trauma responses. We're good people. We have a good heart. We love God. We want to help the world, but our trauma responses kind of hold us back. So we need to get the help and support we need to deal with that, to have the tools and the tips on how to deal with that. Because sometimes what's holding us back is the lack of vulnerability. Ask for help. You're your own worst enemy when you don't ask for help. Because some people, you'd be surprised who some of us have coached. People that that are famous people have coaches. Famous people get help and support. They're not afraid to ask.
No.
You think about anybody who has a lot of wealth, they have staff. They staff their lives accordingly to their weaknesses. So when we think about dreams and stuff, you got to put legs on that thing and live in a way that the dream is attracted to you, because it's not a fairy tale. It's not a walk in the park. But if you go forth and pursue that thing, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing when you see the vision manifested. It's beautiful.
Be ready to receive it. Be ready to receive it.
Yeah. And I like your I like all of your answers to this. You got to be willing to put in the work, right? I kicked off, and I'm going to kick off in December, a workshop called A Dream Fulfilled, Transforming Your Vision into Action. Because again, it could be all in your head if you don't start planning and pulling through that stuff. To your point, Adea, it's a wish, right? That's all it is. And ladies, I'm going to end on that note. I thank you for this. And I'm going to put you in my studio. So the green room, and I am going to close out here, but you all, thank you for joining. I know I've had quite a few people who have asked about this topic and were very interested in hearing about, how do you get started, tips and things like that. And these ladies definitely shared their hearts and they were very authentic about the process. Look for help, right? Don't be afraid to ask for help. You don't have to do this alone. And sometimes we make things harder than they need to be. And if it's in your heart, just do it. Just do it. And on that note, as I said, I am actually going to be launching a workshop at the end of the year titled A Dream Fulfilled, Transforming Your Vision into Action. And it could be about anything that you're looking to do. But you got to do the work, right? You have to do the work. It's not just going to happen by you keeping it in your head. So look for some information on that. And I am excited. And again, just thank you for joining. And I am going to sign off. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Bye.